Hi everyone, welcome to Eaddy's Craft Room. I'm Hannah Catherine Brand. Thank you so much for being with me here today in my craft room. We have some variety today in this video. Pardon me as well, we have gotten some new furniture, so this room is currently also being used as a storage room in addition to my office, my craft room, my piano room, and everything else that it serves. So bear with me on that, but we're gonna get right into all of the fun stuff we have planned today. First up, I'm gonna play catch up on my Fat Quarter Shop Designer Mystery blocks of the month. I have block 2 and block 3 here. So we are going to do a little bit of sewing together. You all seem to like that in my last Sew With Me video, so really excited about that. I also want to share a couple of fun resources that family got me. These are just some quilting magazines. One of them and maybe 2 of them are actually a little bit older. This one is from February of 1981. So for those of you who have more life experience than I do, I will spare you the pain of me calling this vintage. But I'm really excited to take a look at this and see what's in here, as well as these other resources as well. So we will go through that. And also, I took a trip to my county fair in Arlington County, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And so I am really excited to share with you the quilting and cross-stitching finds that I found there and all of the amazing work that people in my community are doing. So I just wanted to showcase that for this community of quilters and cross-stitchers as well, because I figured you would probably appreciate them just as much as I did. And if you haven't had a chance to get to your county fair, or it hasn't happened yet, or maybe you want to participate in it, because I'm definitely thinking I'm going to participate next year, hopefully it will inspire you to get working on some of your projects. So that's a lot. We've got a lot packed in here today. Let's get started. All right, let's tackle these blocks. I'm going to do this Missouri Star Quilt Company style minus the extra helpers, as much as that would be nice. We're going to try and be as efficient as possible while making these, but also of course enjoying ourselves along the way, because this is quilting, this is our hobby, this is what we love. So this second block is part of the Fat Quarter Shop Designer Mystery Block of the Month. This is the 2024 one. So this runs through 2024 into 2025. This is Happiness Blooms, designed by Stacy Itsu, and this is just so cute. I love it. So it comes with this fabric, which is great. And I am just going to give this fabric a good press. I've talked before about how when I first started quilting, I didn't realize how important pressing your fabric is in terms of accuracy. And I've actually gotten some hate for saying that, but I'll be honest with y'all, I don't know if it helps for you beginner quilters out there, but it just truly I didn't put 2 and 2 together that one was affecting the other so much in terms of cause and effect, with the pressing affecting accuracy. It does, especially if you come from making garments, which is really where I started. And when I say I started there, I was making like pajama bottoms and just really forgiving garments. And so it's not as big of a deal in that category of sewing, but in quilting, it can make all the difference. So that's why I share it. It was a mistake I made, and now I don't make, because I realize how important it is. So we're just gonna get these pressed up. I'm not gonna unfold the fabric completely, just because Fat Quarter Shop is really wonderful, and I'm not sponsored by them or affiliated with them in any way, but they do always provide a lot of extra fabric in their kits. So I know I'm not actually going to be using all of this, and it'll just make my cutting also go faster if I'm able to cut several layers at a time. So that was also something that when I first started quilting, I didn't realize. Like when I would see, 200 3-inch squares in a pattern, I didn't realize how you could just maximize. Whoops, my storage was full, but thankfully I caught it in time. I think I was just saying how important it is to maximize layers as well as your cutting format. And you know what really helped with that was watching Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. She was awesome in just like teaching me how I could cut efficiently and how 203-inch squares was not literally going like this 200 times. That would be awful. Okay, let me take a peek at the pattern and see where we need to be and what our requirements are. So I'm gonna make some squares. And I'm just gonna cut the biggest amount of fabric that I'm gonna need for that first. Again, since these are pretty generous with the fabrics, I can do that. If I wasn't so sure, I would not have done that. Okay, so I'm gonna need a few of this first cut. Those are going to be my fabric A squares. And then I'm going to need a different size. Saving that other cut for my smaller squares because the two small squares, the dimensions are half of that size, so I'll just maximize my efficiency there and have more scrap fabric left over. Which I can always do something fun with. And please let me know if you like this slower pace. I had a lot of you say in my last Sew With Me that you enjoyed it. But, all right, that doesn't look like a square, does it? Might be a little long. But anyway, you know, analytics tell one story, but then I also want to make sure that I'm showing those of you who come back time and time again what you want to see. So, did I cut that wrong? I think I did. Goodness gracious. Yep, I sure did. That's why the other one looked weird. All right. Well, again, thank goodness for the extra. Yeah, okay. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, and then the last one is just smaller. All right, so you get a sense of how this is working out. And I think all of our background, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yep. We have all of our background fabric cut. So in order to save just a little bit of time in this video not being hours and hours long, I am going to cut the rest of my fabric and then meet you back here for additional piecing. I am finished cutting and I went ahead and just put my pieces in the corresponding bags so I wouldn't forget, and I'm really glad I did this off camera because there are quite a few pieces for both of these blocks, so didn't want to bore you with that, but also wanted to show you too kind of my scrap management. So with something like this, with it being a sew along, because there are future blocks and future opportunities with this quilt, I do save my larger scraps of fabric. And then once the project is done, I will then process them like I do the rest of my scraps. But for now, I'm just keeping them all together just in case I make a mistake. I can go back to this little stash and pull some fabric. Now for the really tiny pieces, I keep these, a lot of people call these crumbs, and I put them in my crumb little tub. And this just has a bunch of small pieces in here. Most of these are small strips or pieces that are less than 2.5-inch squares. And as many of you know, I am working on a crumb quilt. So just making up different little crumb box. Actually, let me see. Here's an example of the strips that I'm working on, and I just have a couple different strips in the works. I will link a video that I have on this. I took this idea from Karen of Just Get It Done Quilts and love her idea there. So I do use the adding machine paper for these, and actually my tub is getting very full again, so I need to do some more sewing with these, but for now they're just going to go into here and then I'll put them away and come back to them when I can. So let's get back to this and start sewing. So we'll start with block 2 and lay out our pieces. So it looks like our first step is to make a bunch of half square triangles. And we'll be using these pieces. And then we're also going to be making, let's see, just referring back to my pattern, we're going to be making a little bit like kind of a semi snowball corner. We're just going to do one right here. And then it's really just a matter of attaching those completed units together. We're also going to be doing what they're calling the blossom unit. So doing some snowball corners here. Just trying to split them in half. And then doing the same thing, but just with the inverse of colors here. And then we'll be attaching those together. And then last but not least, we're gonna do what they are calling the seedling unit. So those are gonna have little snowball corners on opposing sides right there. And it looks like we'll also be adding an additional little corner here, and then just making 4 of those and then attaching them all together, which I will show you. And those are pretty much the elements of my blocks. I'm actually just looking here. Oh, this is going to get attached to one of these half square triangles. Okay. I was afraid I missed something. So let's get sewing, and then I'll meet you back here to lay out all of our pieces. All right, I have all of my little pieces done, so I am just going to lay everything out. I'm going to follow the pattern instructions for like stitching everything together in the order that it recommends, but just for visual purposes, I wanted to take you along for the ride so you could see how this is coming together. I think this is such a pretty block, and I'm actually really loving these fabrics a lot more than I thought I would. I actually had a couple of you ask if I was going to be doing this sew along, just because it's certainly outside of the realm of my typical projects that I tend to pick, although I do like to think that I do quite a bit of variety, but that's up for debate, I guess. So anyway, I'm really loving this a lot more than I thought I would. This fabric is just beautiful. So I'm really excited about that because I do not have any quilts that are this color. And so it's just cool and unique to try something a little new. So I am just following my diagram. As I lay out, making sure everything's turned correctly. I have heard other quilters say this, and I will echo it. This is not my own original thought, but I think taking a picture of your quilts before you put them all together, or even in this case, your block, is one of the best proactive things you can do to avoid mistakes. I don't know, there's just something about a photo that helps you kind of zero in on it, unlike just staring at it, because likely you've been staring at it for quite a long time. It's actually a principle that I use when shopping for clothes. I always take a picture of myself in the outfit before I buy it, because I don't know, it's really interesting to see how it gives you a more honest look, I think, than the mirror does. And from my television days, I can tell you there is nothing like a camera that points out issues. It keeps you honest. All right, so I'm putting some pieces a little out of frame. I apologize for that, but hopefully you get a sense of kind of how this is all coming together. I don't know where the rest of my little white squares went, but those will go here. I know they're around here somewhere. So I am going to follow my pattern instructions, get this all stitched up, press, and then we'll be done with one of our blocks. Here is the final product, this beautiful block. Oh my gosh, I am so tempted to just make a whole quilt from this. It is so pretty. I still need to square it up, but in the interest of time, there we go. And again, this is part of this fun sew along. It is the Happiness Blooms block from Stacy Itsu. So this is block 2 in the series, and now let's move on to block 3. I could not complete this video without saying thank you to everyone who has made my first ever original pattern from Eaddy's Craft Room garden sampler a success. It has been such a dream come true seeing those of you order it, as well as being able to ship out those who ordered physical copies of the pattern. Wow, you have just brought so much joy and happiness to my life over the past couple of weeks, and so thank you. I am working on another one. I'm so excited and really feeling the momentum from this original launch. If you haven't already had a chance to grab grab a copy, you can head on over to my website. It will take you to my Etsy shop, and that is where you can find both the PDF and the physical paper pattern copy if you prefer it that way. I said this in my last video, but there is a little bit of a difference in price between the two just because the physical pattern does also have production and shipping costs. So just keep that in mind, but otherwise really, really grateful for those of you who are getting started on it. Please, please, please send me pictures if you have a chance. I would be, oh my gosh, over the moon to see someone else creating based on an idea I had, and there's just nothing that would make me happier. So thank you to those of you who have supported me in that way. Thank you for watching still, and let's get back into the crafting. Now that we finished block 2, let's hop into block 3. We are almost caught up on these that have been stacking up for me. So this is Feather Your Nest by Robin Pickens. I have a little bit of hesitation in making this. One thing that I really struggle with is birds. I have actually a pretty severe phobia. It's called ornithophobia, and there are actually some fairly influential people that also have it, so I guess that makes me feel a little bit better about it. I believe one of the Bushes, I don't remember which one, but he never took a meal on the White House lawn because of his ornithophobia, and so I'm like in that category, but I'm fine with birds as long as they're not near me. So that's how I'm justifying this, is like it cannot touch me. But I had some childhood trauma with a bird that just like never resolved itself, and it actually ended up getting much worse the older I get. But anyway, we're gonna make this. It's just impossible. There's so many beautiful fabrics and patterns out there, and I try and avoid the ones with birds, but it's really tough because I understand birds are an objectively beautiful part of nature. So I am going to make this with a smile. So we're gonna do this one. As I have already said, I went ahead and cut those pieces. There were just a lot of pieces. So anyway, we're gonna get a sense of what we need to sew, and I'll speed this one up a little bit in my process because again, this video could easily be a couple hours long. This would actually have been a really fun live stream, which I know I've said it before, but I do want to get into at some point because I like the feel of live, I like the responsiveness, and I also just enjoy when you go live, it cuts down in your post-production time because you don't really have to do it. So, because once you're done. So that is a benefit. But anyway, let us figure out how we begin. So it looks like we're going to start with this big piece, and then we're going to do a square. So that'll go right sides together, and then stitch diagonally. And then at some point we will add another corner square, stitch diagonally. And then we are also going to use, I think it's this one, and we will, is it one of these? Yep. This will go right sides together. Have a diagonal stitch there, and then this will get put with, let's see. Did I drop a piece or maybe not cut something right? All of the above are possible. Let's see. We may have missed, yep, we may have missed a piece. So anyway, there will be just a background fabric right here. I still need to cut that, unless it's, again, very possible. No, that's the right one. Oh, wait, no, maybe not. It's also possible that in my haste, I just completely skipped a section. So yes, we're gonna have to go back to the cutting board. But anyway, you get the idea of what would go there. And then we will sew up that unit, and then also going to be doing the same thing with this fabric and stitching diagonally. Really excited to make these fun little, like it's a little different than some of our really traditional piecing, some of these blocks like this one. That's really fun. I'm excited to make that. And it looks like that will attach to that. And then now we get to bring this friend in, the larger one. And he gets just a little snowball corner right there. Oh, he gets another one. And then we'll get something on the bottom right here. I believe we'll attach to that right there. Yeah, this is fun. I like this. A little different. Okay. Also, this is a real tiny piece. We're gonna make, just a single half square triangle from these two pieces. And then the result of that will go in between these. It's also, I feel like, fairly unique, and that you're making one of a lot of things. I noticed that in the cutting, that's kind of why there's so many pieces, because you're just making one of something. So that's a little different, and it looks like those pieces together will make up the block, and then it's just a matter of identifying these strip pieces, which one's which, and adding the appropriate background fabrics to either side. I'll need to press that again, but either side. And these are what makes up the nest. So yeah, I'm gonna sew all of this up, and through the magic of editing, I'm gonna come back and have something that looks a lot more similar to this. So see you in just a minute. This is coming together so quickly, which is so much fun, especially when I'm trying to be productive. So here is my nest, and then I am just going to sew these other units together in a row and then attach this row to this row, and my block will be nice and finished. All right, I'll admit this is really cute. Block 3 is finished. Feather Your Nest by Robin Pickens. This is cute. Yes, okay, sure. Now I will certainly be adding these blocks to the setting pattern later in the game. I like to do it right in between block 11 and block 12. Instead of doing it like little by little. That's just the cadence that works best for me, and I can use the momentum of being excited for my finished quilt to help me get to the finish line. But yeah, super excited to be caught up and on time, sewing along with everyone else who is also on time. That's always really exciting. Although, you know, quilting is so wonderful no matter when you do it. But anyway, really happy with this one, and especially you all who have been watching me a little bit probably remember my tragedy with my last designer mystery block of the month. It turned out so beautiful, and then the postal service lost it on the way to the long arm quilter. So many of you have been asking for an update on that. The update is that it is still lost. The tracking has not been updated since the beginning of June. It is late August at the time of making this video. I also received my insurance check from the Postal Service after I filed a claim for it. And in addition, my missing package request, it gets updated every so often to tell me that they have not found it. So I think it might be a goner, which is really, really sad. But that said, I'm so blessed to have so many other projects to work on and to look forward to. and I learned a lot. So many of you left me great tips and tricks for helping to make sure that this never happens again if I continue to use a long armor that is not local. And I love mine. They do a super quick turnaround. I think the price is right, so I want to continue using them. But the best tip I heard was to like sew an air tag into your quilt top or send it with it and just let them know that it's coming. That way you just kind of have eyeballs on it, and you can take a more proactive role in your packages. Also, just adding signature required for delivery. That's also a really great tip that I'm going to implement in the future. But anyway, on to the next thing. Now that everyone in my family knows I'm a quilter, anytime they see anything quilting related, they either tell me about it, send me a picture of it, or in this case, they are giving me something. So my mother, as well as my grandmother, I have no idea where they found these, but they were given to me. And so I really haven't had a chance to like truly sit down and go through them. So I wanted to do that together, and I wasn't sure if it would be a standalone video, so that's why we're just going to do it now. So this is Quilter's Newsletter Magazine. It is from February of 1981, so this is a mature piece of paper. You can also tell it was 90 cents. I've looked at some quilting magazines fairly recently. Actually, this one's newer. This is from December 2021, and it's $8 US. So there's inflation for you. How about that? But I'm sure this actually magazine is much more expensive now, so I'd be interested to see what the markup has been since 2021. But anyway, it is the magazine for quilt lovers, and I was just really excited to see this. It is so fun to look through. It's actually not fun to see some of the prices, as I said before, but I'm just really inspired by this and love, the details, and it's amazing because I feel like quilting has even evolved since I've been involved in it. And I'm sure for those of you who have been quilting 50, 60 years, you comment on my videos and tell me these things, but it continues to evolve, but it's still, I feel like the spirit of it is so rooted in tradition, and there's so much history behind so many quilts, and the impact that quilts had on American history and other history, countries' histories as well. Oh my gosh, I love this. There's a quilted vest. I am making another quilted jacket actually for a friend of mine. My previous one was such a hit, so it caught on, and now I have friends in demand. But look at this. Say it with quilting. How many ways there must be to say I love you, but surely there is none more beautiful than with a quilted Valentine. How sweet. This is also beautiful. Oh my goodness. I think, okay, this is a quilt kit, 48 inches by 48 inches wall or lap quilt. Includes full scale pattern with instructions and all fabrics needed for your quilt top. The top is $24.95. The complete kit is $34.95. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. I'm sure those of you who've been quilting for 50 plus years, you're still looking at these prices trying to comprehend everything. But it really is just cool. And oh my gosh, this around the world quilt is beautiful. This is one of those quilts that's on my quilting bucket list. This, and I have never made a log cabin quilt, believe it or not. I have also never made a wedding ring quilt. So all of those are on the to-do list. They will happen at some point in time. God willing, of course. But I am hoping and praying for many, many more years of quilting. Okay, I think this is so fun. I want to go through and read more of this, but just thought it would be fun for us to look through it together, given it's not too long. and maybe be inspired by some of the quilts in there. Quilt maker, I am assuming this is probably still in print, this quilt magazine, so won't spend as much time on this, given some of you actually may remember this one fairly recently if you're a subscriber. Ooh, that's really pretty. Like the colors. Oh, long arms. I feel like they haunt me. Ooh, I love this. Back to the long arm thing. I would love a long arm one day. I do not have the space for it. It would not be a good financial choice for me right now. I just don't make enough quilts to justify it. And I don't really have a desire to offer long arm services, at least at this point in time, to help pay for it. So maybe in the future when I can just buy it as a luxury rather than having to justify it. This is so pretty. I love this, and it looks like they made it with solids, so this would be really easy to recreate. And those are some fun color options as well. Oh my gosh, is this a... I don't know if you can see that. No, I thought that was... Oh my goodness, it's escaping me right now. That really famous sampler quilt. I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but it's like 100 different blocks or something. That is also on my bucket list, my quilting bucket list. Oh, that's fun. Little quilting pattern. That I might try that. I hate the idea of like tearing apart booklets, but that could be cool, and they have examples of how they have quilted these quilts, so that could be fun. Little ornaments. Oh my, this abstract quilt, very modern. Looks like they made some replica pottery with fabric. How cool. These are so fun to look at, and we're gonna look at some more quilts in just a minute. Ooh, top tips for hand care. I need some of that. Actually, I have been having some issues with my wrist recently. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I've just been sleeping on it wrong or if I did something to it, but it's been really upsetting, and I need to get it looked at because it's been going on for a little bit, because it's really interfering with my quilting, and I know so many of you also struggle with things like that and getting in the way of the joy you have with making things with your hands. So I am very protective of my hands, especially the more I get into spending my time doing things like this. If I can't do it, then it makes me sad. Wow. I don't know if these are panels. Oh, equilter.com. Huh. Ooh, that's such a fun take on our Christmas quilt. Again, solids, very modern, very clean. I have one friend, she might be watching. If so, hello, Elise. And she has been intrigued by the world of quilting, and she was showing me some that she really likes, and she has a more kind of modern style than I do. I tend to lean a little bit more traditional. So it's just cool how different designs speak to different people and their taste. One day I'm gonna make stockings when our family grows a little bit, and we're all gonna have our own personalized stockings. I guess I could do it now, make one for me and my husband and for Gumbo. But we're never here for Christmas. We're always with our family who live away. So I have not been decorating just because I find that by the time we get everything up, and I'm very much passionate about Christmas does not start until after Thanksgiving. So by the time we get all the decorations up, it's time to leave. And so I find that it's not really worth the cost, the time sink, and the effort of all of that. So Peggy Hart Young, Thank you, Peggy, for, I'm assuming, donating this because it says books. So maybe this was picked up at a thrift store or maybe a library had some sort of sale. So this is from 1978. So this is actually, and I don't know if it was, I can't tell, reprinted. I don't think so. It might have been printed that long ago. So this might be older than that initial magazine we looked at. General instructions, metric conversion chart, 9-patch quilt, pinwheels quilt, streak of lightning, broken dishes. Ooh, this was the broken dishes block was the first block I ever made for YouTube and kicked off my channel. So that block specifically has a really special place in my heart. I've actually never done anything with those blocks, but they were really fun to make. And like I said, they showed me that being able to make YouTube videos about my love for quilting was a thing that people were interested in, which really blew my mind, and I was just so excited by. So here we are. So yeah, there's some fun quilts in here. There's a lot of templates though in here, which I find interesting because just looking at some of these blocks, I wouldn't have necessarily thought a template would be needed. Actually, Fat Quarter Shop, I know, just did a video on that. There's the broken dishes. So anyway, there's some great ones in here, but oh yeah, like the broken dishes template, there it is. I don't know. Sometimes it is nice though just to have templates if needed, just to make things easier. It's like, you know, paper piecing for accuracy. Hand tying a quilt is also on my quilting bucket list. So yeah, that's this little segment. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these. Last but not least in this jam-packed video, please enjoy the footage I took at the Arlington County Fair. Also, please excuse the inflatable airplane that you will see make a few different appearances in this footage. We really cleaned up at the fair and won a good amount of prizes, so we were pretty excited about that. I will say now I understand why my parents wanted to avoid those booths at all costs because they are so expensive, but we had a good time, so that was a lot of fun. And my husband is such a wonderful support system for this channel as well as just in my life, so he's a lot of fun to be with, and hopefully you get that from the interruptions but you're still able to enjoy the quilts. As always, thank you so much for joining. It is always a pleasure to have you spend some of your time with me here in my craft room, and I am so grateful for that. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to be around for future videos from Eaddy's Craft Room, I would absolutely be so grateful if you would subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, thank you for joining me here today, and I look forward to seeing you next week for the next episode from Eaddy's Craft Room. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Happy crafting!